Do you know, in the NFL, everything can change in a literal matter of seconds. I mean, think about it. A freak injury here, a sudden scheme change there, or just one missed assignment on a random Sunday afternoon in October. Welcome to this NFL Nexus Explainer. Today we're taking a really hard look at a franchise that is currently standing on an absolute razor's edge. The Indianapolis Colts are staring down a summer of brutal, unforgiving decisions. And let's be real, the expectations are just massive right now. That AFC South title drought, it's been hanging over this organization like a dark, heavy cloud. So as we peel back the layers of this 2026 roster landscape, we're going to uncover the immense, suffocating pressure facing guys who are quite literally fighting for their professional lives.
Right now, the summer break is officially here. The off-season program has wrapped up. Those mandatory minicamps, they're completely in the rearview mirror. The players have all dispersed, flown back to their hometowns, and the practice facilities are kind of eerily quiet. But listen, do not let that silence fool you for a second. Sure, the physical on-field practices may have hit pause, but the true mental grind, well, that has just begun. This is that intense, isolated period where massive playbooks are being memorized in empty living rooms. It's when every single minor ache and pain is hyper-scrutinized and where the cold, hard reality of the football business really starts to set in for these guys.
But for some guys on this roster, this upcoming training camp at the Grand Park Sports Complex, it's not just about going out there and knocking off the offseason rust. No, it is a life-or-death battle for their very survival in the National Football League. When they lace up their cleats and step onto that grass at the end of July, there's going to be absolutely no room for error, zero margin for having a bad day, because in this league, the difference between securing a multi-million-dollar roster spot and finding yourself completely out of football, it's literally measured in fractions of a second.
And the scariest part? Time is already running out. That clock is ticking, loudly and relentlessly. We are looking at an incredibly hyper-condensed timeline here. Late July marks the brutal, sweltering start of camp. Then August hits, and it's an absolute gauntlet of preseason evaluations where every single rep, every backpedal, every block, every throw is meticulously graded by the coaching staff on an iPad. And looming right after that is the dreaded deadline in early September, that mandatory cut-down to the final 53-man roster. Every practice, every mundane drill, every single film room meeting is a high-stakes audition.
So what does this all mean? Well, it brings us to the ultimate question we're answering today. Who actually survives the 53-man cut? Seriously, prepare yourselves, because we are about to conduct a forensic, microscopic breakdown of the absolute most critical, high-stakes roster battles in Indianapolis. We're going to look at all the exact variables, the complex schemes, the lingering injuries, and the cold, hard math that will definitively dictate who gets to stay and who gets shown the door.
Chapter 1. The Anchor in Peril. Okay, let's dive into this. You simply cannot talk about the Indianapolis Colts without talking about the terrifying reality of potentially losing their most vital piece. We're talking about the absolute anchor of that defensive line. Just look at this timeline right here. This is DeForest Buckner's excruciating race against time. Back in 2025, Buckner was limited to just 10 games. He missed 7 extremely critical matchups because of his severe neck injury that ultimately required surgery. I want you to think about the microscopic details of that for a second. A defensive tackle's entire livelihood revolves around violent, high-impact collisions with 300-pound offensive linemen on literally every single snap. The torque, the leverage, the sheer kinetic energy that the upper body has to absorb in the trenches is just immense. You simply cannot play that position if you have a compromised neck, period. And when he went down last season, the Colts' interior dominance absolutely shattered like glass. Now moving into the spring of 2026, he missed all the practices. So as we approach these July camp evaluations, the singular overarching goal is just getting him on the field for week 1. But man, the medical uncertainty is palpable in that building. Every single phase of his recovery is this terrifying high-wire act, and the entire defensive front is basically holding its breath.
Now listen closely to these very carefully chosen words from head coach Shane Steichen. He said, "He's the hardest worker I know. I know the goal is to be ready for week 1, and so I know he's working that way, and we'll see where it goes." It's that final phrase, "we'll see where it goes," that carries so much heavy weight here. Steichen is projecting genuine hope for sure, and he's praising Buckner's legendary work ethic. But underneath all that typical coach speak, that is a stark admission of medical reality. The human body heals on its own schedule, and right now the Colts are entirely at the mercy of that biological timeline. The front office knows full well that willpower alone cannot fuse vertebrae together or heal damaged nerve endings.
And this brings us to a massively important number on the screen right now, 32. That is DeForest Buckner's age as he enters the 2026 season. But more importantly, this is the final year of his current contract. Since he arrived from San Francisco, he has been the unquestioned alpha dog of this defense,
racking up a ridiculous 43 sacks and 59 tackles for loss in a Colts uniform. I mean, those numbers are just staggering. They represent true game-wrecking ability. But, as we all know, in the NFL, past production does not guarantee future security, especially not at age 32 when you're coming off major neck surgery. His health this August doesn't just dictate the Colts' Week 1 lineup, it dictates the entire remainder of his career in Indianapolis and quite possibly his future in the entire league. The personal stakes for him literally could not be higher.
Chapter 2. The Offensive Arsenal. Let's completely shift our focus over to the other side of the ball now. While the defense is anxiously waiting on its anchor, Shane Steichen is meticulously trying to construct a dynamic, explosive offensive arsenal. He has a desperate, screaming need for versatile weapons to support quarterback Daniel Jones, and the tight end room has suddenly become the absolute focal point of this offensive evolution. Just look at Tyler Warren's rookie impact. We really need to spend some time breaking down the sheer magnitude of these statistics because they are wild. 112 targets. For a rookie tight end to command that level of volume, that means he is instantly reading complex coverages, understanding his hot routes, and earning his quarterback's ultimate trust in high-pressure situations. He translated those targets into 76 catches for 817 receiving yards and 4 touchdowns, which culminated in a Pro Bowl selection. You know, tight end is notoriously one of the absolute hardest positions to transition to from college to the pros. Why? Because you're being asked to learn the complex, grueling blocking schemes of an offensive lineman while simultaneously mastering the intricate route trees of a wide receiver. Warren didn't just learn it, he completely dominated. He is standing right on the verge of elite league-wide status.
Steichen himself actually noted, "I think you're always trying to evolve offensively and find ways to get him the football because he is such a dynamic player." And the microscopic detail here is exactly how Warren is evolving his game. This entire offseason, he's been obsessively, relentlessly focused on his explosion out of his breaks. In the National Football League, separation isn't measured in yards, right? It's measured in mere inches. By finding just one extra step of pure explosion when he aggressively plants his foot in the turf to change direction, Warren fundamentally destroys opposing linebackers and safeties' leverage. That extra half-second of pure separation, that's the ultimate difference between a contested, tipped incompletion and a 20-yard chunk play that completely flips the field for the offense.
Now look at the stark contrast right behind Warren on the depth chart. You've got veterans Mo Alley-Cox and Drew Ogletree. Last year, they combined for a minuscule 17 catches on just 26 total targets. Yes, okay, they are highly reliable, heavy-handed run blockers, and that's absolutely crucial for clearing those interior paths for Jonathan Taylor. But let's be honest about the modern NFL. Predictability is a death sentence for an offensive coordinator. When Alley-Cox or Ogletree trot onto the field, opposing linebackers immediately key in on the run. They stack the box. If those tight ends cannot pose a vertical threat through the air down the seam, the Colts' offense instantly becomes severely handicapped and entirely one-dimensional. Steichen's scheme demands absolute total versatility to keep defensive coordinators guessing, and right now, this backup duo is glaringly missing that passing element. Which brings us to an incredibly tense number in this tight end room, 5. That is the total number of catches Will Mallory has recorded over the last 2 entire calendar years. Mallory was a 5th-round pick who flashed immense, tantalizing promise during his 2023 rookie season with 207 yards. But since then, he has just completely vanished into the background. He's been spending most of his Sunday afternoons stuck on the inactive list as a healthy scratch. With Warren ascending to undeniable stardom and Alley-Cox and Ogletree miles ahead of him in the blocking department, Mallory is entering the final year of his rookie deal, hovering right on the absolute fringes of the roster bubble. Honestly, unless he miraculously proves himself to be some irreplaceable core special teams asset this August, he is a prime cut candidate, facing the bitter end of his time in Indy.
Chapter 3. The Chopping Block. Look, the harsh, unforgiving business of the NFL is about to claim several highly respected players. Past accolades, they mean nothing. Where you were drafted means absolutely nothing. It is strictly about who can perform right here, right now, today. These are the veterans who are fighting for sheer survival right now. Cornerback, Jalen Jones. Kicker, Spencer Schrader. Quarterback, Anthony Richardson Sr. I want you to imagine the sheer, quiet panic a veteran feels when they walk into the facility on a Tuesday morning, grab their coffee and look out the window to see a hungry, incredibly fast 22-year-old undrafted free agent flying around the practice field, literally stealing their first-team reps. It's terrifying. Every single mistake is logged on a coach's iPad. Every false step or blown assignment is replayed in high definition in front of the entire positional group in the film room. The margin for error is absolutely zero.
Let's look at the microscopic details of this kicker battle, which is arguably the most psychologically taxing position in all of sports. Spencer Schrader was widely viewed as the long-term answer here. He was incredibly reliable, hitting 13 of 14 to start out 2025. And then, the pure, unadulterated tragedy of the sport struck. A Week 5 torn ACL on a routine, totally mundane, made extra point against the Raiders. Just a freak plant of his leg in the turf, and boom, his season was instantly over. Enter Blake Group. Brought in merely to provide some consistency, Group didn't just fill in. He was statistically flawless. Down the stretch, Group went 11 for 11 on field goals, including a staggering 4 for 4 from 50-plus yards, and a perfect 10 for 10 on extra points under extreme pressure. Kickers live on a solitary mental island, and Schrader is now returning from a surgically reconstructed knee to face a guy who, mathematically speaking, could not have been any better last season. That is a terrifying mountain to climb.
Over in the secondary, we've got a fascinating battle of pure scheme fit. Jalen Jones is a highly capable pro, right? He's got 29 starts under his belt. But when defensive coordinator Lou Anarumo arrived, Jones significantly struggled. He was hampered by a nagging hamstring injury, sure, but he also faced a steep, complex learning curve in a brand new defensive system. Meanwhile, you've got Cam Taylor-Britt, who has 38 starts specifically playing under Anarumo from their previous time together in Cincinnati. In complex modern NFL defenses, familiarity is a massive, invaluable currency. Anarumo's scheme requires precise pre-snap communication, exact zone depth drops, and an intricate understanding of exactly how to leverage and pass off routes. Jones isn't just battling the scar tissue of his own hamstring, he is battling the deep, ingrained, schematic knowledge of Taylor-Britt, not to mention the rapid, undeniable rise of undrafted free agent Jonathan Edwards. It's a fatal disadvantage for a corner sitting right on the bubble.
Chapter 4. The Quarterback Dilemma.
Now, this next situation, this isn't just a localized roster battle. It's a massive, franchise-altering event that has the potential to shake the entire league to its core. The trajectory of Anthony Richardson Sr. is easily one of the most compelling and dramatic stories in the sport right now. Drafted in the first round back in 2023, his physical ceiling was viewed by scouts as just utterly limitless. But then came Week 6 of last year, a gruesome, season-ending orbital bone injury. Let's really think about that. For a quarterback who fundamentally relies on elite vision, lightning-fast processing speed, and reading the entire field post-snap, structural damage to the eye area is completely devastating. Following the injury and the eventual solidification of Daniel Jones's status as the starter, Richardson was formally granted permission to seek a trade early this offseason. But during the NFL draft, deafening, total silence. Crickets. No trade materialized. No team pulled the trigger. Now he sits in this incredibly awkward limbo, awaiting a suitor in the summer of 2026, forced to put on a helmet and stack perfect practices in a building he fully thought he was leaving months ago.
And the primary reason he is still standing in that building comes down to this specific number right here. He currently holds the 8th highest salary cap hit on the Colts' entire roster. The complex, unforgiving financial ramifications of the NFL salary cap make an outright release virtually impossible. If they cut him, the franchise would swallow a massive, debilitating amount of dead money that would completely hamstring their operations for years. The Colts simply cannot cut him. They absolutely must find a trade partner who is willing to take on the asset. So Richardson's goal this August isn't just to play well in training camp for the Colts, it's to put out high-quality, undeniable preseason tape so that when another team inevitably suffers a tragic quarterback injury in mid-August, his agent's phone rings. Make no mistake, he is actively auditioning for the other 31 teams.
Chapter 5. Scale and Consequence.
Chapter 6. The Final Countdown.
You see, none of these storylines exist in a vacuum. Everything is deeply, intricately connected like a giant puzzle. If DeForest Buckner isn't ready to go for Week 1, the Colts' interior pass rush completely evaporates. That places immense, unsustainable strain on a secondary where a guy like Jalen Jones is already fighting for his absolute life. If Tyler Warren doesn't take that elite, all-pro leap everyone is expecting, the offense stagnates, forcing Steichen to heavily rely on the predictable, heavy blocking of Allie Cox and Ogletree. And hovering above all of this tactical chess match is the immense, suffocating financial weight of Anthony Richardson's unresolved contract situation. One single injury, one surprise cut, one blockbuster trade, it sends a massive ripple effect straight across the entire AFC South landscape. The window for this current roster iteration is rapidly closing. The agonizing, brutal process of trimming 90 men down to 53 will absolutely define the 2026 season before a single meaningful regular season snap is even played. The stage is set at Graham Park. The clock is ticking. So I leave you to ponder this as August rapidly approaches. As the Week 1 window closes, who will truly survive the purge?
Look, this is the kind of deep, forensic analysis you will only find right here. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on every single microscopic roster move and cap decision, you need to subscribe to NFL Nexus right now. Hit that like button to support this explainer, drop a comment down below with your bold predictions on who actually makes the final 53-man cut, and most importantly, support the channel by becoming a channel member today. Your membership directly allows us to keep producing these high-stakes, documentary-style deep dives into the sport we all absolutely love. Until next time, keep your eyes on the wire.